who better to help us navigate the endless insanity and mountains of tax code coming from the District of Columbia, but America's accountant himself, Dan Geltrude. Dan, how are we doing, man?
Good, Mike. Glad to see you're in the hot seat today.
Yeah, trying to fill the big shoes. So Dan, you know, for people that pay kind of attention to their tax returns but don't know a ton, what are you telling your clients this year? What do people need to know?
Look, there haven't been a lot of changes to the tax code this year, which I guess is a good thing. But, you know, there's some basics there. And the number one thing really is to make sure that your information is organized, because if you don't organize, there is a greater chance to miss something. And when something is missing on your tax return, which doesn't match up with what the IRS happens, well, guess what? Then you're going to get a little love note from them saying, hey, you owe more in tax. So we try to avoid those things to the greatest extent possible. And the way to do that is to have all the information complete and accurate. And when we do that, that's our best chance of avoiding any issues with the IRS.
Yeah, I mean, like some clients, you know, they own stock directly with a computer share or whoever, and you're trying to find a 1099 for a $5 dividend. It's a nightmare, but if you don't include it in your tax return, you know, doesn't that give you red flags for an audit and all sorts of other good stuff?
Well, it's not necessarily an audit, Mike, but it does invite them to the party, meaning you're going to have some correspondence with them. And the best course of action with the IRS is never to have anything to do with them except you file your tax return, they accept it, they process it, and you're on to next year. Anything more than that, well, that's not exactly to the taxpayer's advantage.
Dan, I know a lot of people, they withhold a lot or they prepay a lot, or I'm sure a lot of people paid estimated quarterly taxes based on great 2021 years in the market, and 2022 did not work out the same way. So if they were looking for a refund, do you think the IRS is going to be more timely than they were last year, or do you think the problem's gotten worse?
Well, I think the problem will at least be the same, because the IRS's resources continue to be stretched, and that's not their fault. Their funding has been cut, and I don't think anybody's feeling bad for them, but that's just how it goes. But the consequences of that is those of us that are getting refunds end up having to wait a little longer. So what I would tell everybody out there is to make sure that you are filing electronically and that you're putting your direct deposit information on your tax return to help speed the process. Because if you're not doing those things, you're only going to be in for more delays. So tell me more about the charitable deduction that got taken off this year. So what happened there is that you have above the line and below the line, right? So above the line means before any of the itemized deductions. So when it came to charitable deductions up through last year, you were allowed to take a $300 charitable tax deduction, even if you didn't itemize your deductions. Last year, meaning 2022, that went away. So the only way that you're going to be able to get any tax benefit from a charitable deduction is if you itemize your deductions on your tax return. And what's happened, Mike, through the Trump tax cuts, most of the itemized deductions really disappeared, and a larger standard deduction was put in place. And the goal there was to simplify tax filing. But of course, you know, not everyone benefits from these things.
Yeah, so the other thing we're going to talk about a little later in the show is inflation. And part of the inflation problem is this red hot labor market as to where did all the workers go? You've had some trouble finding accountants to work at your practice as well, correct?
Well, that's been a problem throughout the profession, Mike, because over the last 2 years, 300,000 accountants have left the profession. And there's somewhat of a thin pipeline, meaning accounting majors coming out of college. So you combine the two of those things and you have a real shortage of workers. So now you see the accounting profession suffering like so many other areas of the economy where you simply don't have enough people to do the work.
Well, look, I'll tell you, one of the highest grades I got in college was advanced accounting 2. And I just said, you know what? I don't like this, so not gonna be a CPA. So, you know, I guess it takes a certain mind, but then, you know, there are very few starving accountants out there versus starving artists. Am I right?
You're right about that. You actually can do very well in the profession, but listen, the work is not easy, and you got to show up. How's that, Mike? You know, you got to actually put in the effort, and sometimes there's people that just don't want to do that, or they're tired of it, and they move on, or they simply don't go into the profession. And look, Mike, this hurts everyone. If you don't have your accountant in place to prepare your tax return, good luck finding one, because there's not a lot of them out there anymore.
Well, thank you very much, Dan, coming to us from